Oh, hello, Internet. It is I, Sally, who does not enjoy Instagram Live. I don't enjoy live video in general. Um, but I actually had nothing to say. No, I'm just kidding. There's only one person in the world I will do live video and Instagram Live for. Hi, everyone. And that is my friend, the amazing Valerie Kaur, who is going to join me any darn second now and save me from myself. Let's see, what can I tell you? Oh, well, I guess I could stop and tell you about, while we're waiting for Valerie, well, I could tell you what an amazing leader and incredible person she is. I could also tell you I'm a little distracted because my kid, as you all maybe know if you've been paying attention, broke my arm, broke her arm. Maybe someday she'll break my arm. Y'all, why are you tuning in for what is sure to be a messy, sleepy conversation? I've had to sleep with the kid the last couple nights, and let me tell you, you do not sleep well when someone is whacking you with a cast in the middle of the night. Anyway, neither here nor there. Valerie is going to join any second now to talk about her amazing book. If you all don't know Valerie Kaur, you should follow her. You'll see her pop up in a second. You'll get her link. You'll follow her. You will be as inspired as I am by her calls to connect our own personal empowerment and voice and leadership with the moment at hand. I mean, that's really, to me, that's what Valerie represents, is this sort of fearless ability to be present for others by being present with yourself and being sort of deep. Authenticity is one of those words that's overused, so I feel stupid using it now, but that's like, right, an actual authentic authenticity, right? The ability to be vulnerable and real and deeply, deeply present with the questions and the struggles and the hardships. And oh, look, here she comes. Here we go. Ready? Go live. I'm doing it. We're waiting because I can only fill airtime by myself so well. Here she comes. Oh, it's you. Hi.
Hi, my love.
Hi, darling.
You were talking about vulnerability and struggles and hardships, and I don't want to interrupt that. So keep going.
Shush.
I want to know
Do
what you
you
were
know?
saying.
Do you know how much I do not enjoy doing things like this? But I love you. That's it. That's now you know, right? Now you know. I'm trying to figure out where the hell to prop you up. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna stick you in my kids' markers. Don't take it personal.
No, that's where
There you
I
go.
would
I
want to
think.
be.
I think. Oh look. Oh shoot. Nope. Okay, wait. That's not working. Well, we're gonna while we figure this out. Hi. How
Hi.
are you?
I'm all the things.
You're all the things. I know.
I'm all
That's
the
like
things.
there. That is the dumbest question now. How are you?
No, no. And it's like a tender thing to ask each other because we know it's a lot and
Oh,
impossible to answer. And yet we're trying to
okay.
reach out and say, this is hard.
I first of all I have to tell you, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to like go right to this, but I think about all my friends, my brilliant, wonderful, smart, visionary friends who have books coming out right now.
You know,
And I'm just, it sucks. So the first thing the people, hello internet, what you need to do is go and buy Valerie's new books, Stranger. And
yes.
the irony of the situation, and I'm sorry I didn't get mine yet, but the irony of the situation is that it's harder than ever maybe to tell people to go buy books, and it's probably even physically harder to go buy books, although most independent bookstores are either doing window service or shipping, so don't go to Amazon. But or go to Amazon and help Valerie's numbers and recognize the paradox of our existence. Either way, but even though it's harder to get the word out than ever, your book is more important than ever. This is the
It
moment for your book.
I feel the tension, Sally. It's like ripping me apart. So this book, it's See No Stranger, a memoir and manifesto of revolutionary love. You go to seenostranger.com and you don't have to support just Amazon. You can go to Bookshop and support your local bookstores. It's out today.
Today,
today,
today, today.
today,
Look at my honor. Today. It's
today,
out today.
today.
Everybody, if people don't know who are watching this, the first day sales really friggin' matter. So go out, and I'm not kidding, just buy the book today. And when we talk about like where we put our money and that it matters, like first of all, you should read the book because it's amazing. It's amazing. You're gonna weep. You're gonna feel it in the bottom of your soul. I swear it's the thing you need to read in this moment. And also friggin' support Valerie. This is literally put your money where your mouth is. Go out and buy her book. Sorry, Valerie.
Thank you. We haven't even talked about it yet, but
I know.
please go do this thing.
Tell everyone. No, but I mean, there's such a journey behind how you got here.
Yeah.
And could you start like I'm not going to like interview, but people who don't know, how did you become an activist? Because you have such a unique. I mean, you always were an engaged and thoughtful person, but becoming an activist was a real journey for you. Can you tell the people?
It wasn't a choice, Sally. It felt like a matter of life or death. I wasn't planning to become an activist. I've been a civil rights activist, lawyer, filmmaker, person for almost 20 years now. It was the aftermath of September 11th, and this was before social media. This was before our communities, Sikh community, Muslim communities, had any easy access to channels to tell our stories. And so in the immediate aftermath of the horror of those attacks, hate crimes broke out on city streets across the country, and dozens of people in my community were killed. And the first person was Balbir Uncle, Balbir Singh Sodhi, a Sikh father who was planting for flowers in front of his gas station in Arizona when a man, white supremacist, shot him in the back, and when arrested said, "I'm a patriot." I was a kid. I was 20 years old in college, and I felt like I needed to do something, anything. And I just had this, I was watching the president say that we were united as a nation in grief. And in the meantime, I was getting notes from family and community members saying, who's going to die next? It's not something, why is there a war against us today? So I took my camera, I crossed the country, and I started capturing these stories from our community, just hoping if someone would hear them, then it would matter. And that was almost 20 years ago. And so for
Isn't it amazing? It could have been yesterday. I mean, when you tell that story now,
I know.
It's so interesting because I know we met, I'm trying to remember because time has collapsed itself, but we must have met. I knew of you, but we must have met for the first time maybe 5 years ago. And I remember when you told that story and it seemed so far away.
Yes.
Right? Because when we met, Barack Obama was president. I know he didn't solve it, but like it was a time of hope. It was a time of like, oh, look, we've come far and now we're going further. And now when you tell that story, it's like, that story could have happened yesterday. And obviously nothing changed, right?
No. And this book came out of that sense of crisis. So here I am, like, with every film, with every campaign, with every lawsuit, I thought we were making the nation safer for the next generation. And then 2016 election season, hate violence is skyrocketing once again, like just as high as it was after 9/11. And this time, I'm not a kid in college. I'm a new mother. And I'm putting my son, he's playing upstairs right now, I'm putting my son to sleep thinking he's a brown kid with long hair who may wear his hair in a turban as part of his faith, who is growing up in a nation more dangerous for him than it was for me, or for my grandfather who arrived a century ago. And so I opened up my activist toolkit, Sally, and I could not, I was paralyzed. I could not do anything. And I was given a gift that few women who are mothers and activists get. I was given time and a room of my own. I had a book advance that gave me enough time to sit and think and start to write. And I began writing this book really as an act of survival, because I wasn't going to last. I thought, well, how do we labor for justice when the labor feels endless? How do we keep going when it feels like nothing has changed? How do we birth a new country, a new future, when the crises just feel like they're repeating themselves over and over again? And so I poured through the stories of my life. I poured through Sikh history and Sikh struggles. I poured through social movements of the past, and the pattern that began to emerge was shocking to me. It was these practices of what I'm calling now revolutionary love. But the only way people have fought injustice and survived and struggled and created change is through grieving and raging and breathing and pushing and fighting with and for one another. Revolutionary love is what I'm seeing now in the streets. I honestly, like, I'm looking at the paper. This is the LA Times. Like, I never could have imagined. Could you have imagined, like, living? I mean,
No.
Like, this is a time of so much horror, like 110,000 people dead from this virus that was preventable, disproportionately Black people. We can never get George Floyd back, or Breonna, or Tony McDade, or Nina Pop, all these, and they're new deaths whose names I'm still trying to learn. It's so relentless. So it feels so devastating and so dark, and yet there's a revolution underway that we never thought we would see in our lifetime. This awakening to becoming an anti-racist society. And so the question is, like, how?
Yeah. And a revolution, and it is a constructive and a love-based revolution. I mean, the message, Black Lives Matter, was a message of equality and dignity and ostensibly love. People crying out to be treated with the same dignity and justice and love of everyone else. I mean, that is really at its essence. It is a beautiful, impassioned, prayerful plea.
And my question is, what happens when people come back from the streets after chanting? There's so many white people, so many non-Black people of color showing their solidarity, right? What happens when we go back into our homes and into our schools and into our workplaces and our companies and our industries? Like, transitioning America is one long labor. And right now, the resources that people have are, you know, they're intellectual exercises. They're like, okay, I'm going to be an anti-racist up here. But it's actually, if it's not integrated emotionally into your body, like practicing revolutionary love is how we birth the anti-racist society. But it comes from a way of being in the world, a way of moving in the world, a way of seeing no stranger. And so that's the offering that I hope that this book, that this work, this framework can provide for people who need some tools and need a little bit of sustenance to figure out, like, what do I do next and next and next? How do I last?
Well, and there's something, okay, so like true confession time, I find something so, I don't know if you feel the same way about this, I find something so very self-indulgent about the notion of self-care. I think you know this about me.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong, I like naps and Netflixing and chilling as much as the next guy, but I just like this notion of, like, oh my gosh, I wailed so much. I need self-care. You know, my generation, we didn't do self-care, right? We just burnt out and had heart attacks. And I gotta say, God bless the millennials. If they can, like, actually finally bring about the revolution, I will stop complaining about them. But what I've learned from you, and what I think is something people can take from your book, is like a toothier, more provocative, more real and applied kind of self-care. So it's not like a self-indulgent self-care that's like, let me just cocoon and whatever, which people need. I'm sure I've read books that say that. But yours is like somewhere between, like, the retreat and sort of navel gaze, and just the, like, give is actually about the internal, psychological, spiritual sort of self-renewal, constant self-nurturing and self-renewal that ultimately everyone needs to be not only healthy and functional in a movement, but functional in a society. It sort of bridges that gap.
It's the midwife, she doesn't say breathe and just breathe or breathe once and then push the rest of the way. No, there's breathe, my love. Okay, now push, and now breathe, and now push. There's a rhythm to it. And I was just pushing my, since the bureau felt like I was just pushing all the way to the election season, when I just collapsed. Like, I didn't know how to breathe, and therefore I didn't know how I was going to last. but there's this, you know, we say soldier on or be a warrior. Yeah, everyone uses metaphors for war, for the courage to fight the good fight. I use those metaphors in the book too. I love warrior. I come from a warrior people. Sikhs are warrior people. So I love that kind of imagery. But I feel like it's incomplete because when you think about the courage it takes to birth something to new, to labor for something into the world, which is a human right, not a biological trait. It's a human right to engage in creative endeavors. That kind of courage, that kind of wisdom comes with a rhythm, right? To labor when it's that hard and when that dark and that violent and that fiery, there's a rhythm to it. And I'm with you, Sally. I love my yoga mat and my lattes, but I critique like the self-help industry. It's like it's tricked people into spiritual bypassing, you know, like
Yes.
that I take care of
Yes.
myself and therefore I heal the world. No, I know you are part of the world and you should take care of yourself. But if you're only feeling like this and then you're like not paying your domestic workers and you're part of systems that are crushing the Black people in our lives, either from a virus or from state violence, and you're doing nothing, you're turning a blind eye, then you are part of the system. You're part of it. And so I'm defining revolutionary love as the choice to enter into labor for others, even for our opponents, and for ourselves.
Oh, sister friend, let's talk about. I mean, because part of what you know, you and I are in a small club.
I know.
I mean,
not a popular club.
Listen, it's. I mean, understandably so. But first of all, just to your point, you know, it is important in this moment that we realize that when we talk about revolutionary love, that even though in a kind of cultural normative sense that can seem countercultural, right? That the research shows 200 years of successful political revolutions, the most successful and the most effective and efficient and fast were nonviolent.
That's right.
So that's number one, right? It's not actually, we think of it as,
that's in the book too.
Right. I mean, Erica Chenoweth, great research, important to know.
Yeah.
And so it's not like passive. It's not weak. It's not right. It's not like, it's actually, it takes bravery to love as opposed to hate, I happen to think. But also this notion of, you know, love in the general sense, not maybe in the specific sense, but love of the humanity, of the essence, of the dignity of the being of others, including opponents.
Yes.
You know, that is, I mean, even if you can get to that concept individually, frankly, right? Which is hard, right? Especially if you've been on the receiving end of hate and otherizing. It is a very controversial public stance.
Yes.
You know, even in movements that are calling for equality and dignity, it is so easy to, convenient to, popular to hate the opponents, to call them dumb or stupid, or you know, paint them with as broad a stroke as they paint us. That is, I mean, you're taking this stance very publicly in a very bold way. How do you think about that in this moment?
I think it's actually the only way we win. That loving our opponents is not just moral, it is pragmatic. It is strategic. As long as I'm consumed by my hate for my enemies, then my gaze will always be narrow to removing them from power, unseating them from power. I am interested in removing this president from power, but I am more interested in changing the conditions that got him there in the first place. And when I've sat with white supremacists, I've listened to them, and it's hard, it's labor, right? It's not easy, it's labor to try to love someone like that. But beneath the slogans and the sound bites, if I listen hard enough, if I listen to the story, I hear a kind of pain. To hold hateful ideologies and to move in the world where you believe there are people who are subhuman, who are out to get you, that is a painful way to live. It's not justified, it's not equivalent to my pain. But once I recognize them not as monsters, but as real human beings, then they lose their power over me. And once they lose their power over me, then I have the foresight and the vision to go after the institutions of power that radicalize them, the cultural pieces of equip them? What are they listening to?
Yeah.
What are they
Yes.
buying from? What are they, it makes me a smarter fighter.
Well, and it's almost too easy in a way. I mean, this is sort of a challenge of the moment we're in, right? Where here we are on social media. So much of our activism is performed on social media. Unfortunately, it's spawned by these individual moments. So as you mentioned to begin with, your activism came out of it, right? We can see individuals, so we can say, oh, it's that person. Oh, it's almost too easy, because if we just hate the person, right, we ignore the systems. And the thing about systems thinking is, we say that, whether it's Trump voters or white supremacists or, people who denigrate women or whatever, we say that they are the product of systems
Yes.
that we
Yes.
openly blame and critique. And then yet we still hold those individuals. I'm not saying they should be let off the hook, but we hold them ostensibly 100% to blame for the conditions that we created, that we're not then actually talking about systems in a certain way. But it's just so easy to hate individuals as opposed to understand, deconstruct, and dismantle systems.
Yes, and so I know we were talking up here, but there are stories in the book that show how we won. Like, I've worked with a Latinx community in East Haven, Connecticut, taking on a police department accused of a pattern and practice of racial profiling. They killed a Black man, Malik Jones, in the 1990s, and justice was not served. And I sat in the basement of the church with these Latinx community members, the priests, the nuns. And what was amazing was that the priest asked the people to imagine, this is a beyond resistance, right? Because when we're loving our opponents, we're moving beyond resistance into reimagining the systems. And they asked the people, what would policing look like in this town that would make you feel safe? And they were able to come up with a list of demands. And so we led a full-throated 3-year campaign. We got the Department of Justice to investigate under the Obama era. The first police department that investigated was Sheriff Arpaio in Maricopa County. The second one was East Haven, Connecticut. And they created a monumental consent decree. We did put 4 police officers behind bars. Like, we held them accountable. But then
as they should have been.
Transformed the entire police department because it was about a culture shift. And that came from the imagination of the people who are most oppressed by it. And today, East Haven is like they're marching with Black Lives Matter protesters. I mean, it's phenomenal. Like, it worked. And I think now is a moment where we're going even farther, right? We're like, do we even need policing as we know it? Like, dismantling, Minneapolis dismantling its police department, defunding in other cities. And so I think if we can collectively be practicing revolutionary love is only revolutionary if it has no limit, right? If we are seeing every single person as worthy of dignity and wellness, even our opponents, even our worst enemies, then it frees up our imagination to reimagine systems that liberate all of us.
Which, embedded in that is we can only, one question is, we talk about, we say another world is possible. Do we actually act that way through our own acts and compassion? Because if we actually think that certain people are irredeemable, then we are circumscribing our own power for transformation and change. We are saying, in fact, we can't create the better world. In fact, it is not possible. I want to, I know we're going to run out of time. I could talk to you forever, and I miss you, by the way. It's actually nice to physically see you, or this isn't physical, but you know what I mean, to see you. Here's what I want to do. I'm going to challenge everyone who's watching and who's going to watch later. I want you to go buy your own copy. Hold up the book again. Of See No Stranger by Valerie Carr. And I want you to think about, this is my question for you, Valerie. I want actually everyone to buy two copies. Because if you're blessed and fortunate enough right now to be able to buy one book, I bet you can buy 2. And it's so nice to do something for other people right now. It's just so nice. I keep sending bottles of wine to friends because I'm single-handedly encouraging everyone to develop the same quarantine alcoholism that I have. But
you can send me some chocolate.
Okay. But I want to think about, Valerie, if people are going and they're buying their one copy and then they're going to buy another and send it, who do you think they should think about in their life sending a copy of your book to? Because I really do want everyone to buy 2 and send one to someone they think should read it. Who do you think is the person in their life they should send it to?
Anyone in your life who is breathless right now, and wants to show up and doesn't know how.
Mm. Mm. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So
Okay.
I'm just being like, you know, students, graduates, activists, educators. I want to put and Sally,
Mm.
I have to say this because we were talking about opponents. There are 10 core practices of revolutionary love. One of them is rage. That we think that rage is the opposite of love. No, no, no. Rage is the force that protects that which is loved. And so part of this work here is also how we harness our rage, how we work with our rage, how we release the creative energy from our rage. So if you think of people in your life who are struggling with grief or struggling with their anger and their rage, or they're feeling nothing at all, and yet they want to show up to the labor, this is the book to put in their hands.
It's sort of how to turn all those complex feelings in a constructive direction, but not superficially so, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's. I have to tell you, folks, like, buy it. You won't be sad. Your life will be changed, as mine has been, by engaging with Valerie and her ideas. Really, I think one of the most important movement and justice thinkers in our world today. Sorry, we've got a little kid in the frame here. There you go. We almost made it through.
It's okay. I never burst through the door.
I mean, yeah, at least I
But
don't think you heard the cursing, but yeah.
we are part of a community of thinkers. It's small, but I had the opposite of hate on my desk as I was writing.
We're not talking about me, sissy.
I know, but
Talking
the
about
research
you.
that you did in that book was so vital and so foundational to all of us who are trying to reclaim love as a force for justice for a new time.
Oh, well, I love you and I hope you know it.
That's why I wanted to be
And
here on the first day with you.
I feel special. And it's such a good dose. You're such a great reminder that pain, right, is part of creating the new.
Yes.
That is it, right? Just like pain is a part of parenthood. um, pain is growing pains. I mean, we all of these ways in which we think of pain as bad, but it actually is this healthy, necessary feedback loop. I mean, we have to go through it to get through to the other side. And
we can bear it.
yeah, we
I'm
can bear
sorry.
it. No.
We can bear it in community. I like people don't give birth alone. We don't go to battle
Mm.
alone. We do it in community. And right now, when some of us are in the streets, like shoulder to shoulder with others, and others are still sheltering in place and trying to, we, our hope in building a community around this book is to make people feel like they're not alone. They have the support they need. So today we're announcing virtual book clubs, also on the SeeNoStranger.com site. So you go to SeeNoStranger.com, you buy the book, you sign up for a book club. And our first big gathering is this Thursday with Van Jones and Chris Jackson at One World. We'll be having a conversation, and then we'll be in it together, between now and the election and beyond, about how to stay in the labor, how to help each other breathe and push, how to be midwives to each other, because it's going to be a long, long labor. And I want you to last. I want to last too. And the only way I will last is if I'm with you, Sally, and with all of you.
We need you. We need you. And I just, for everyone out there who's watching or sharing this, please share this. Go to SeeNoStranger.com, buy a copy for a friend. Give this as a gift. Give Valerie's wisdom as a gift to someone who's trying to figure out how to make it through in this moment, how to turn their frustration, their pain, their rage, and see the beauty and the transformation and the love, right? I mean, rage in this moment is a form of caring.
Yes.
And a form of love for what could be. So it's just, you're a gift. This book is a gift. I'm excited for everyone to read it. I would say you're going to change the world, but you already have. You're just going to keep changing it. And I absolutely love you. And I was so honored to spend a little bit of today with you.
I love you, Sally. Thank you for jumping on when you're like, I hate these things. Thank you for jumping on.
I literally do, but I love you. So I make an exception. Big virtual hug, babe.
Thank you, everybody. I see all of you saying that you're ordering.
I know, you're great. Yay.
Thank you for spreading the word. It's only going to go from one person to one person at a time. So thank you.
Love you.
Thanks, everybody. Mwah.